At a family gathering, I unknowingly sat in my sister-in-law Melanie's chair, unaware of its importance to her. As soon as she noticed, her expression twisted with anger, and without warning, she slapped me hard across the face in front of everyone. My brother, Ethan, immediately sided with her, which pushed me to the brink. I was filled with a strong urge for revenge and even considered involving the police. But before things could escalate, something unexpected happened that completely shifted the course of events. I'm Claire Thompson, 28, and I work as a marketing specialist in Dallas, Texas. The city's lively culture and art scene constantly fuel my inspiration. While my career brings fulfillment, my personal life has always revolved around my brother, Ethan. Growing up, we were inseparable, sharing many adventures and creating lifelong memories. When Ethan began dating Melanie, I was thrilled for him. She seemed perfect, charming, funny, and, when I met her at a family barbecue, she lived up to her reputation. I saw how happy Ethan was, and that made me happy too. You're going to love her, he'd said with excitement. And I did. Melanie was warm and engaging, making it seem like she was the missing link that completed Ethan's life. However, as time passed, Melanie's true colors began to show. At first, I brushed it off as jealousy, not knowing how to share my brother's attention with someone else. But soon, her passive-aggressive remarks grew harder to ignore. During Thanksgiving, I proudly brought my famous pumpkin pie, only for Melanie to comment, "I thought I was doing dessert this year." Her tone light but hinting at something more. I forced a smile and shrugged it off, replying, "I must have forgotten," but the sting of her words lingered. Her comments became even sharper. One night at dinner, she said, "Still single, Claire? You should really try dating someone. It might help with your personality." The comment cut deeper than she probably intended, and I began to sense that she was deliberately undermining me. I vented to my best friend, Luke, over coffee. "I don't know what to do, Luke. At first, I liked Melanie, but now, I'm not so sure." Luke raised an eyebrow. "What's been going on?" "She's always making comments. It's like she's trying to make me feel small," I confessed, frustration seeping through. "Have you spoken to Ethan about it?" he asked. "I don't want to cause problems. He's so in love with her," I replied, not wanting to create tension. "Claire, you deserve respect. Don't just ignore it." Luke was right, but I dreaded confrontation. Days turned to weeks, and Melanie's behavior only worsened. She began sabotaging my relationship with Ethan, deleting messages I received from him and excluding me from family events. I felt powerless, like I was losing my brother. Then, everything reached a boiling point at a family dinner. I had arrived early to help with preparations and sat in what I assumed was an unclaimed chair. Melanie, seeing me, stormed over with a flushed face. "That's my seat," she snapped. Confused, I looked up. "I didn't realize it was reserved for you." "It's always been my seat. You should know that by now." The tension was palpable, and before I could respond, Ethan intervened. "It's just a chair, Melanie, let's not make a scene." But Melanie wasn't having it. "No, Claire's always trying to take everything from me. She's trying to steal my spotlight." Her words hit hard, and I tried to stay calm. "I'm not trying to take anything, I just sat down." The situation escalated quickly, leaving me in disbelief at how much Melanie's behavior had affected me, and I realized I had to confront her, not just for myself, but for Ethan too. The next day, Ethan texted, "Can we talk? Melanie feels bad about what happened." I sighed, already dreading another attempt to smooth things over. "Sure," I replied. We met at a park that weekend. The sun was shining, but inside, I was fuming. Ethan seemed stressed, his gaze downcast. "I'm sorry about what happened, Claire," he said. "Melanie didn't mean for things to escalate." I struggled to keep my emotions in check. "Ethan, it's not just the chair, it's how she treats me. Her comments are hurtful." Ethan exhaled, his shoulders sagging. "I know she can be difficult, but she's under a lot of stress right now. Maybe we should just avoid confrontation." I felt my disappointment rise. "Avoiding it won't fix anything. I feel like she's pushing me out of your life." Ethan sighed deeply, his eyes softening. "I'll talk to her, just give it time." But nothing changed. Melanie became more aggressive at family gatherings. At a barbecue one day, she approached me with a smirk. "Still single, Claire? Maybe you're just too picky," she said, her sarcasm cutting through the air. I flushed with embarrassment. "I'm focusing on my career right now, Melanie." "Right, because that's really working out for you," she sneered, laughing like it was a joke. I confided in Luke again, feeling the weight of Melanie's hostility. It's like walking on eggshells around her, I told him, frustrated. Luke frowned thoughtfully. Have you looked into her past? Maybe that explains why she's acting this way. I hesitated. I don't want to invade her privacy. What if it makes things worse? Sometimes you need to understand the enemy to protect yourself, Luke said firmly. His words stayed with me, and after some contemplation, I decided to dig into Melanie's background. It didn't take long to uncover some troubling details, mentions of toxic relationships and restraining orders filed against her. My heart sank. What kind of person had Ethan chosen? I shared my findings with Luke. She has a past that worries me, I said, my voice shaky. It might explain her behavior. Luke nodded. You need to tell Ethan. He deserves to know who he's really dealing with. That evening, I invited Ethan over for dinner, hoping the familiarity of our shared meals would ease the tension. When he arrived, I could see the stress etched on his face. Thanks for coming, Ethan. I made your favorite chicken Alfredo, I said, trying to keep things light. Thanks, Claire. It smells great, he replied, but his eyes were clouded with concern. As we sat down, I took a deep breath. Ethan, I need to talk to you about Melanie again. His face tightened. I thought we agreed to let things cool down. I wish we could, but I found some things about her that worry me. I don't think you fully grasp who she is, I said, my tone firm yet calm. What are you saying? Ethan asked, concern flickering across his face. I took a deep breath, ready to share the truth. Her past relationships, the restraining orders, and the way she's been undermining my career. She's been spreading falsehoods about me to my clients. I can't let her hurt you too. Ethan's expression shifted, the weight of my words settling in. I don't know how to process all of this, Claire. It's a lot to take in. Before he could say anything else, a sudden, loud knock on the door startled both of us. My heart raced, and I exchanged a nervous glance with Ethan. Who could that be? He asked, tension in his voice. I have no idea, I replied, anxiety tightening in my chest. Ethan opened the door, and I braced myself, completely unprepared for what was about to happen. Little did I know, this night would turn everything I knew about my brother and his wife upside down. There, standing in the doorway, was Melanie. Her face was flushed with anger, and something else, perhaps fear. She pushed past Ethan, not even acknowledging my presence. Ethan, we need to talk, right now, she snapped, her voice cutting through the air. Ethan glanced back at me, hesitation clear in his eyes. We were in the middle of something, he said quietly. Melanie turned toward me, her eyes narrowing. You've been filling his head with lies, haven't you, Claire? My pulse quickened. That's not true, Melanie. I'm just trying to protect him. Protect him? She scoffed bitterly, stepping closer. You mean keeping him all to yourself? I see through you. Enough, Ethan interjected, visibly shaken. We're not doing this right now. But Melanie wasn't backing down. Oh, I think we are. You've been so busy listening to her nonsense that you don't see what's happening right in front of you. I tried to stay calm. Melanie, I'm not trying to come between you. I just want you both to be happy. She scoffed, crossing her arms. Happy? You think you can waltz in here and control how we should live? I'm not controlling anything. I'm just concerned, I said, my voice trembling slightly. Melanie stepped closer, her tone turning darker. You think you're better than me? With your perfect life and your perfect job? I'm done with it. Her words hit me hard. I never saw myself as superior, only supportive. I'm not trying to bring you down, Melanie. I just want us to be a family, I said, my heart pounding. Family? She leaned in, her gaze sharp. You're a threat to everything I've worked for. You've been trying to tear us apart from the start. My anger flared. I've never tried to tear you apart. I just want my brother to be safe. Suddenly, in a shocking move, Melanie slapped me across the face. The sharp sound echoed through the room, and I stumbled back, stunned. Ethan's eyes widened in disbelief. Melanie, what the hell? I touched my cheek, the sting spreading, and held back tears. You can't just hit me and expect everything to be fine, I said, my voice shaking with hurt and outrage. Melanie's face shifted from anger to something resembling guilt. I didn't mean to, she muttered, but there was no sincerity in her voice. No, you meant it, I shot back, frustration rising. You've been manipulating everyone around you. Ethan looked between us, confusion and concern battling in his expression. This isn't okay, Melanie, you can't treat Claire like this. The tension in the room was unbearable, but Ethan's words were a lifeline. Still, I could see how far things had deteriorated. I'm done with this, Melanie hissed, her voice cold. You think you can just come in and ruin my life? You're nothing but a spoiled brat. Enough, Ethan shouted, his voice booming. I thought we could work through this, but you've crossed a line. As the words hung in the air, I realized we had reached the breaking point. The fight had torn our family apart. Then, the sound of sirens reached us, and my heart sank as a police car pulled up outside. What's going on? Melanie asked, panic creeping into her voice. Ethan turned to her, disappointment clear in his eyes. I think someone called about the altercation. As the officers approached, I felt a rush of unease. The situation was spiraling out of control. One of the officers addressed Melanie. Ma'am, we received a report about an altercation. Can you explain what happened? I didn't do anything, Melanie said, her voice shaky. It was just an argument. Ethan cut in, frustration evident. You slapped my sister. The officers exchanged serious looks. We need statements from everyone involved, one officer said. I took a deep breath. Melanie's been aggressive toward me for some time. This isn't just tonight, I said, standing my ground. Ethan looked at me, regret and disbelief in his eyes. I never wanted this, Claire. I thought we could sort this out. Clearly, that's not going to happen, I said, emotions flooding me. I wanted to protect my brother, but he had to understand the reality of what was happening. As the officers took our statements, Melanie's anger simmered just below the surface. You're ruining everything, she screamed. You think you're the perfect sister, but you're just jealous. Jealous? I just want you to be honest with yourself and with Ethan, I countered, my heart pounding. After taking our statements, the officers stepped aside to talk privately. I seized the opportunity to speak with Ethan, my voice low. You have to see how toxic she is. Ethan, I'm worried about you. He ran a hand through his hair, his face torn. I know things have been rough, but I love her, Claire. I just need time. Before I could respond, the officers returned. Ma'am, one officer said to Melanie, we're placing you under arrest for assault. What? You can't do this, Melanie shrieked, her voice rising as the officers cuffed her. I felt a mixture of relief and sadness as they led her away. I glanced at Ethan, his face pale, the weight of everything crashing down on him. I can't believe this is happening, he whispered. I know it's hard, but you have to understand her behavior isn't just a phase. She's been manipulating you, I said softly, my heart aching for him. The police car drove off, and I knew nothing would ever be the same again. In the following weeks, the fallout was intense. Melanie was charged with assault and sentenced to 3 years in prison. Ethan wrestled with feelings of anger, betrayal, and sadness. Despite everything, I focused on rebuilding my life. Luke's support helped me heal, and we spent hours talking through what had happened. Slowly, Ethan began to see Melanie's manipulations. One evening, as we sat together in my apartment, Luke took my hand. You're incredibly strong, Claire. I'm proud of how you stood up for yourself. Thank you, Luke. I couldn't have done it without you, I said, gratitude washing over me. As I reflected on everything that had happened, I realized how much I had learned about love, loyalty, and standing up for myself. I had faced a toxic situation head-on, emerging stronger than before. Looking out at the Dallas skyline, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The future was mine to shape, and I was ready for whatever came next. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video, and stay stunned.